Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I started a Star Trek marathon and I've just done season 1 of Star Trek Enterprise. And of course, I had to pull out all my favourite toys and props and things. Unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore, no lights. And yeah, I watched it on Blu-ray, of course. Now, there's some issues with the Blu-ray. When they converted the series, they didn't upscale the effects, and some of them were done 1080 and 720, which looked fine, but some were done 480, unfortunately, because they just had a time crunch. And at the time, standard TV was 480 and HD was 720, and by the end of the run, HD was 1080, and the show was being filmed digitally, and all the live action stuff has been taken from the film, and that's all HD. But the effects, they didn't upscale them, so some shots look a little pixel, have a little bit of, don't look so good. But aside from that, it's got a lot of special features, and the episodes look great. It holds up really well. I forgot how good the series was. The great part about the series is it's all fresh and new. We're going into space for the first time. We're not jaded. We don't have the benefit of having already been everywhere and knowing everything, because as much as I loved the other Star Trek shows, for the most part they were just sort of going around their territory and just sort of policing the sort of land in a way, as opposed to actually exploring it. But obviously they hadn't gone to every planet, and you go into planets maybe where you haven't really dealt with the aliens and stuff, so you got stories from that. But just the energy of this series, just the newness, the ghost stories that, about things that happen in space that happen. It's just a really great show. It holds up really well. It's in HD and widescreen, unlike some of the earlier Star Trek shows. It was the first one to be done in widescreen, and it really holds up. Even though the effects aren't 1080, the design, the beauty shots of the Enterprise are amazing. Now, I did do a long video, 25 minutes, where I basically went through all the episodes and just talked about them. But this one, I just want to talk about this season as a whole. It starts off with them leaving Earth. Now, the original idea was they were going to spend the whole season on Earth, and it would end, the last episode, they would be just dealing with politics, and then the last episode, they would actually go into space. I'm like, thank God they didn't do that. That's not Star Trek. Just like this new Archer series on Earth, instead of in space, dealing with politics and everything from the Federation, that's not Star Trek either. That's the West Wing, and the West Wing in space is not Star Trek just because it's in space. So I'm glad they didn't do that. The first episode, half the episode, actually no, the first episode they're kind of on Earth, and then they sort of launch, and then they go into space on a mission to return a Klingon. And there's a few highlights, but there's a lot of spooky ghost stories. We're going into space for the first time, and we deal with like boomers who've been in space for generations, before warp and then before the warp 5 engine, and going down to planets for the first time. There are moments where the characters like Trip are not the most enlightened, but they learn. That's the point. We're there to learn, and the attitude too is there. So that it's interesting to watch. I was surprised by how much I enjoy spending time with these characters and going back, to this world and onto the ship and everything. And I would love to actually be on that ship. Unlike Discovery and some of the other shows where I don't like any of the characters and I wouldn't want to be on that ship, I would like to be on Enterprise. I'd rather be on the original Enterprise or the movie Enterprise. I think the movie Enterprise is my favourite era. Then Next Generation second, I think. But it was more comfortable, but not as much fun because there was just a lot of, be the flagship, going around, going through the motions. Whereas the original Enterprise, they seem to be doing a little bit more. They seem to be a little bit more on the edge of the frontier. There are some highlights, like episodes like Strange New World, Unexpected, Fortunate Son. There are some mid ones like Civilization, Shuttlepod 1. I know a lot of people love Shuttlepod 1, but I find the acting really uneven. Connor Trinneer does a better job of taking things seriously and being dramatic, whereas Dominic is trying to be funny in some scenes, sometimes the same scene. Dear Doctor holds up. They all hold up pretty much. Just a couple of them are a little mid. like the episode where they go down to the desert planet, and obviously this guy is bad news, but they still end up going down and playing sports with him and getting in trouble. The last couple episodes are very, very well done with setting up the situation where the humans sort of look to have been responsible for causing problems, and the Vulcans want to recall them and having to prove humanity worthy of going into space. And overall, I just loved the series. I'm glad I've spent some time watching it again. I'm looking forward to watching the next 3 seasons. Well, the next 2 seasons out of 3. I didn't like the September 11 war arc. Unfortunately, the first 2 seasons are great. Third season, politicized by America, and then the fourth season they tried to go back, and actually would have been really, it was great, and it would have been really great to have a 5th season. But I'm not going to make my 6-minute thing I was trying to get to. But yeah, I really did love the first season. I watched it every week on TV. We did have the videos first, but I still watched it every week on TV because I hadn't bought them all yet. But then after that, they stopped making the videos, and it was a few years until we got the DVDs. So you had to watch it. You had to wait for it to come on TV. You had to sit up and wait till 11 o'clock at night to watch it. And it really made you appreciate every episode more than the other shows that I think we took a bit for granted because we got them on video right away, and they were just easy to access, and you didn't have to sort of deal with the TV stations and the time, everything, and because they never scheduled them on time. It was just a mess. They really took it for granted that Star Trek fans would wait and follow the show, which we did, which is why they did that to it. But it wasn't fun. Just for a little bit of insight into how we watched Enterprise back in Australia. But yeah, I forgot. Also got the figures in the away. What are these spacesuits? But unfortunately, they did that thing where they did half the crew, couple overlapped, but half of them in the spacesuits and the other half in the actual uniforms. So, and they didn't finish the set, so we don't have Phlox in his medical uniform, we don't have Hoshi in a Starfleet uniform. So yeah, what I'd love to do is buy a bunch of them and just swap the heads over. With some of them that'll work. Hopefully Nacelle will actually give us the remaining crew members, because I do like having them. It's fun just to pull the figures out and pull, you know, the equipment out, and go over the old articles and that, and just remember how much I loved Star Trek before Discovery, and how great it was before New Trek. And yes, Picard Season 3 was good, and Strange New Worlds had a couple of good episodes in the first 2 years before, yeah. But there's hope. But either way, we've always got Enterprise, we've always got the original series, we've always got Star Trek. They can't make it go away. They may sully the name a little bit and the franchise as a whole, but they can't actually hurt the episodes. When you're watching these episodes, like I started watching Carbon Creek, and unfortunately it was late at night, I fell asleep. But that's not a reflection of the show, that's a reflection of the fact I've been up all night. And now I'm looking forward to watching that, and I'm just giddy at the idea of watching the whole episode again. Because it's a great episode, the characters are great, the storytelling is great. Just the atmosphere, the beauty shots of the Enterprise, every time it's on screen, it's just a beautiful thing to behold, you know. Whereas the new shows, The Affair, it's just I'm just going to enjoy them and forget the fact that the next thing I'm watching is Discovery, because I'm going to do them in chronological order. But I'm going to go, because this was meant to be a 5-minute video, but I just want to share how I felt about Enterprise, because weird thing happened with Enterprise where there was some negative reaction to it. There's all this talk that everyone, new fans hated Next Generation, DS9 and Voyager 2, just like Discovery, and it's all just history repeating itself. I'm like, no, there was apprehension about all those shows, but as soon as they aired and people got, oh, it's Star Trek, people loved it, and no one said anything. But with Enterprise, there was a little bit of resistance to the prequel nature, and it did last a little bit longer. And the show didn't quite get the respect it deserved, in part because the network it was on was failing, and it was cancelled prematurely. And it wasn't until later that people started revisiting it online and streaming that they realised, wow, this show is really good. It's great storytelling, great acting, it's widescreen, it's, you know, for the most part HD effects and everything, and it has a real appreciation now. And I always supported it and loved it, and I'm just glad people finally caught up and realised how good it was. And I'm really enjoying watching it again. And I think that's why I was going to do this in like 1, maybe 2 days, and I've dragged it out for nearly 2 weeks because I've just been able to watch a couple episodes a night. But that's good because I've really been able to enjoy them and sit back and really, because when you do a marathon, you just go through them so fast, they sort of blend into one another sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to go. Let me know what you think of Enterprise. And I'm curious to see if there's anyone out there who didn't like it who now appreciates it more, whether that's because of the contrast of Discovery or just some time and clarity. But I'm glad it's getting the respect it deserves now. And it's one of my favourite shows. Like I'd put it after the original series on par with Next Generation for my favourites.